creating a space to date and explore. Women that are driven in their careers,
they don't have time,
tend to forget about how intentional you need to be about dating.
That's another thing.
Welcome back, or welcome to Uncle ABL, Jack of all trades, master of none. Here we talk about everything from dating to nutrition and finance and everything in between. And today's video is about the plight of the corporate woman. Now, I've been waiting to do this video for a very long time because I've seen this happen in real time. In my regular everyday life, I have seen this. Now, what am I talking about specifically? Well, a lot of women who get into the corporate world and excel, or maybe not excel, but they focus on their corporate jobs, they tend to suffer when it comes to personal relationships, whether they be friendships, romantic, or anything of the sort. And there's a lot of reasons why. A lot of women are kind of confused, like, hey, I have all the money, I have the looks, I have the status. Why don't I have my husband, my kids, my house, etc.? Why don't I have that when I have all the other things? Because when the men have all those things, they tend to get the wives and the kids and whatnot. Why is it not the same thing for me? There's a lot of reasons why. There's a whole lot to it. But first, let's check out this video from Earn Your Leisure. This is part of a podcast. I will link to their full podcast in the box, and you can see it. There's like an hour and some change. We're going to see a snippet right here. Now, this woman, her name is Ericka Pittman, and do not harass her. If you want to go to her page, give her nice compliments and tell them that ABO said be nice. But she's been in her field. I'm not quite sure what she does. Please forgive me. But she's been in her field for about 25 years. So obviously, she's an older woman. That matters. We'll get to that in a little bit. So let's go ahead and roll it. And I'll stop it at certain points to give my 2 cents because this is a reaction video. I got to do it that way. Check it out.
I'm single. I don't have children. And people ask me like, what happened? And I'm a heterosexual woman, right? And so it's like, well, a couple things happened. I think first and foremost, I always say I spent too much time on the wrong relationships.
Let's pause right there. Too much time on the wrong relationships. Now, this is a very honest take. This is a very honest expression from Miss Ericka. And I'm appreciative of that because this is what happens. A lot of times when you got younger women who are getting money and they're climbing in their career, they don't want an actual relationship to get in the way. They want a guy they could just have fun with occasionally, see on the weekends. Maybe he might provide a little bit financially. Maybe he'll do something like that. But they don't really want a serious relationship. They don't want to be tied down. They kind of behave like men in that respect. When talking about they don't want the ball and chain, they don't want to be locked down. I'm not saying all men do that, nor am I saying all career women do that. But what she's talking about is the kind of mentality that you see from a lot of these women who find themselves 35, 45 years old, single with no kids and no prospects. But let's keep on going.
That is, I tell any young woman, get in and get out. It's the OG classic. That's what Jay-Z said.
Classic.
That's what Jay-Z said.
Now you're speaking the language.
Right?
Now you're speaking the language.
Get out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, move on as quickly as possible, right? Learn the lesson, forgive, and move on. So I didn't necessarily do that as often as perhaps I should have. But I also think, creating a space to date and explore. Women that are driven in their careers,
they don't have time.
Let's pause. Now, I'm pausing it right now for copyright reasons, but also because I want to just jump in and say it. They don't create a space to actually date because that's not the priority. The priority is the career. They'll have men, they'll have guys that they see on occasion casually. They'll have romantic situational ships. They'll have those, but not anything serious because that's not the priority. And they don't think about that kind of thing until they get to be later in their lives. When they realize at 35 and 36, 37, 38, 40, and they have no kids, no husband, no prospects, then it becomes an emergency. This is part of the reason why I say older women, like this woman right here, would not be a good match for a guy like me. Now, I'm not saying I would have a chance with her at all. I'm not saying that in the least bit. I'm not trying to put myself in her sphere. I'm just saying, in general, that wouldn't be a good match. Because if she is getting into a relationship right now, she's going to want to accelerate things to make up for lost time because she was focused on the career and building herself up. Now that she's accomplished that goal, now it's time for the next accomplishment, which is husband, wife, and kids, when that should have been the reality at age 25 rather than 45. But let's continue.
Tend to forget about
that's
how
not-
intentional you need to be about
That's
dating.
another thing. I'm glad you said that. They don't have time.
They don't have time. They don't make time.
They don't make the time.
They don't make the time.
They got time. They got time. It's just what they're saying. They don't make the time because it's not a priority. That's what's going on.
They have the time. They don't make the time.
They don't make it because it
don't
gets
have it.
exhausting, right? When you're constantly coming up against the men that may not be equally yoked.
What does equally yoked mean? What does that really mean? I heard this a lot in the community, as we call it. Is this coming from the Bible, equally yoked? What they mean when they say that typically is his money is not the same as my money. If I make $175,000, he's got to make $175,000 or more. If I go to Paris 3 times a year, then he's got to do the same thing. They want the guy to have a similar lifestyle and financial ability as them. The problem is the guys that have that kind of lifestyle and financial ability are not seeking a woman that's their same age who is a corporate boss with the pantsuit. They don't want that. Nothing against her, but again, it's not a good combination. It's not a good match. So they find themselves not being able to get what they want because they are not what the person who they would want wants. You understand? The guy that she would want does not want her. And it's kind of confusing to these women because they say they have all the things that the men have and the men are able to get whatever they want. But the problem is men want certain things from women and it's not the same thing for the women. Women are going to want the finances, the security, all that good stuff from a man. Men don't need that from the women because we bring that. You trying to bring what a man brings is not going to work. What you're going to end up with is a younger guy who is not really financially stable. There goes the non-equally yoked. Because you're a match, you are mentally not connecting because he does not have what you think he should have. You're just kind of confused. Or maybe you're not confused, but you've put yourself in a situation to where the things you want are not going to necessarily come to you, unfortunately.
I'm single. I don't.
So that's the video right there. Now, I got another video for you guys. And we're talking about the community and what people really prioritize. The things he's talking about, dating, relationships, and marriage, should not be spoken about at that age. Trying to do it for the first time, trying to get married for the first time, trying to have kids for the first time. That should be a discussion had much earlier. Now, when she was in college, you got to ask yourself, was she doing this? I got the sound off because we don't need it. You see all these young women right here. I'm not going to say the color, but we got eyes, we can see. Okay, you see what's going on here. They have wedding rings. They all have wedding rings. And the caption says, graduating as an education major. They all have wedding rings, engagement rings. So these girls are young, in college, and getting hitched. Now, are these going to last? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they're going to last forever. Maybe they'll last for a little while. Maybe they'll get married, have 2 or 3 kids, and be married for 10 years and get divorced, and get married again and get divorced again. But at least they're going to have a husband at one point. At least they're going to have children instead of being 45 years old when they should be at that point almost approaching grandmother age, rather than worrying about that at that age, they already have it. You see what I'm saying? And I think in the community, as I close, what we get told is, hey, when you're in college, when you're going through that, you should focus on getting a career, get your money, all that. A lot of our young girls, women, are told to embrace masculine things when they're in school. So then when they embrace masculinity, they're confused that the guys who they want don't want them. They don't really understand. But when women that embrace femininity, they're able to get what they want. And that's just kind of how it is. So that's the plight, really. That's the problem. A lot of these women simply are not embracing what the men who they want. It's just as simple as that. All the money and everything, hey, that's great. You got a house, you got a bank account, you're making 6-7 figures. That's fantastic. I have nothing against you, but You made a sacrifice. Your sacrifice was relationships, family, children. That was your sacrifice. Now you're 45 years old. You got a big bag of money. You might be the rich auntie. You might need to embrace that role rather than trying to go backward in time and relive the life you didn't live. You can't necessarily recapture what you sacrificed to achieve where you are right now. Because I tell you what, as I close, would you give up the money that you have right now? Would you give your life up that you have to go back in time and have husband, kids, all that? Would you do it? I doubt it. And that's pretty much all I got. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.